Well-Trained Mind Press presents Electoral Apocalypse, the complete series, as created and told by Jim Weiss.
Hello, I'm Jim Weiss, author, storyteller, and recording artist. I'm speaking to you today from my home in Virginia in the midst of a dramatic U.S. presidential election in the year 2016. And it's about presidential elections I want to speak. Now, I don't intend to comment on this year's election or the nominees. I want to tell you the astounding true stories of some previous elections that make this year's stormy campaign seem as smooth as glass by comparison. My goal is not only to share some of the most surprising stories I know, but to give you a greater sense of confidence in republics and democracies, and particularly in the strength and flexibility built into the U.S. system. By the end, I hope you'll agree that if we could get through these other crises, we ought to be able to get through just about anything. I'll offer these stories in a series of episodes, each one focusing on one terribly divided era or election, including its most dramatic events, the remarkable people at the heart of those events, and how the U.S. dealt with these bitter conflicts. To access all these presentations, please visit the store at welltrainedmind.com. Thank you for listening. Episode 1, The Election of 1800. For twists and turns and shocks, all carried out by a cast of simply extraordinary individuals, it is hard to match the election of 1800. But in order to get the full impact of it, we're going to have to go back a little further than 1800 to the three elections which preceded it. These were the first three elections under the new United States Constitution and Bill of Rights. And the contrast between those elections and that of 1800 were like day and night, left and right, just a totally different situation. Well, how did that happen? Who made it happen? That's where we're going now. The first person we have to meet in this amazing story inevitably would have to be George Washington. Washington's role in the beginning of the country and in those first elections cannot be overestimated, and the proof is very simple. In the first two of those elections, Washington himself was not only elected President of the United States of America, he was unanimously elected President of the United States of America. He received every single vote in the Electoral College, that strange institution the Constitution had set up to oversee national elections. How could this have happened? I mean, we had this amazing group of founding fathers. Not only George Washington, but Benjamin Franklin, that wise old advisor, John Adams, that fiery, temperamental, thin-skinned, brilliant, hard-working leader from outside of Boston, Massachusetts, Washington's fellow Virginians, Thomas Jefferson, who had written the Declaration of Independence and who had served with Adams throughout the war, the two of them serving in more capacities than anyone else, James Madison of Virginia, Jefferson's best friend, who had the subtlest political mind of them all, New York's Alexander Hamilton, brave, articulate, ambitious, loyal to Washington. And there were others we'll meet too. How is it that with the rest of this cast of characters, only Washington was ever thought of for the position of our first president? Well, the first thing to think about is this. It is possible that Franklin might have been considered also. He was the only other American at the time of the same stature that people regarded as that superior to all the others. But Benjamin Franklin was also a generation older than the others. There was about a 40-year difference in age between Franklin and Jefferson, for example. And Benjamin Franklin, who served so nobly, carried out his last public acts of leadership by taking part in the Constitutional Convention that created the United States Constitution. He passed away right around the time the Constitution was finished, or no doubt he would have been one of our presidents too. As for the others, they were all considered a half a step below Washington and Franklin. This bothered John Adams tremendously, by the way. He had every...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?